The darkness outside pressed against the car windows like a thick, impenetrable veil. Rain drummed relentlessly on the roof, creating a disconcerting symphony that seemed to echo the turmoil in my mind. I gripped the steering wheel tighter, my knuckles pale against the leather. My decision to take the back roads on this rainy night was beginning to feel like a grave mistake. The narrow road stretched out ahead, its asphalt glistening with a sinister sheen, illuminated only by the dim glow of my headlights. The trees on either side of the road swayed ominously, their branches clawing at the sky as if yearning for release from their earthly confines. The faint outlines of old, crumbling structures emerged intermittently in the darkness, remnants of a forgotten town. My GPS had assured me that this was a shortcut to my destination, but it felt like a journey into a nightmare. I cursed myself for not checking the weather forecast. The rain showed no signs of abating, and the wipers worked tirelessly to clear the incessant deluge from the windshield. Visibility was limited, and my heart raced with each bend in the road, unsure of what lay ahead. The sensation of being watched, of unseen eyes peering from the shadows, gnawed at me. As I drove deeper into the desolate countryside, a chilling thought crept into my mind. I hadn't passed another car for miles. The isolation was unnerving, and I longed to see the reassuring glow of headlights approaching in the distance. But the road remained empty, except for the relentless patter of raindrops and the eerie whisper of the wind. My headlights suddenly flickered, casting eerie shadows that danced along the road. Panic surged through me, and I desperately tried to regain control of the car. The engine sputtered, and I cursed my old, unreliable vehicle. The car came to a shuddering halt, and I was left alone in the suffocating darkness. I fumbled for my phone, my trembling fingers struggling to unlock it. When the screen finally illuminated, I saw the dreaded no signal message mocking me. My heart sank as the realization hit me. I was stranded in the middle of nowhere, with no cell service and no idea which direction to go. The oppressive silence was shattered by a sound that sent a shiver down my spine. It was a soft, mournful wail, like a ghostly lament carried on the wind. I strained my ears, trying to locate the source of the sound. It grew louder, more desperate, echoing through the trees and filling the air with an unsettling unease. In the dim glow of my phone's flashlight, I stepped out of the car and peered into the darkness. My breath misted in the cold, wet air as I called out, "Hello? Is anyone there?" There was no response, only the relentless rain and the haunting wail that seemed to surround me. I felt a deep sense of foreboding, an instinctual urge to retreat to the safety of my car and lock the doors. But something compelled me to move forward, to follow the eerie sound that seemed to beckon me deeper into the woods. With each step, the trees closed in around me, their branches forming a canopy that blocked out the rain. The forest felt alive, teeming with unseen eyes that watched my every move. I stumbled over roots and fallen branches, my heart pounding in my chest. Finally, I emerged into a small clearing, and what I saw there froze the blood in my veins. In the center of the clearing stood a dilapidated, ancient-looking house. Its time-worn facade was barely visible beneath the encroaching vines and moss. It looked abandoned, but the wail that had drawn me here emanated from within. Against my better judgment, I approached the house. The door creaked open with eerie ease, as if inviting me inside. The interior was even more unsettling, with rotting furniture, cobwebs, and a pervasive odor of decay. The wailing sound grew louder, now unmistakably human. I followed the sound to a decrepit staircase that led to the basement. My flashlight revealed a small, dimly lit room, and in the corner sat a figure shrouded in tattered rags. It was a woman, her eyes empty and hollow, her wails echoing with a heartbreaking sadness. "Are you okay?" I asked, my voice trembling. She turned to look at me, her eyes locking onto mine. In that moment, I saw a depth of despair and anguish that chilled me to the core.
"Help me,"
she whispered, her voice a haunting plea. I took a step closer, my heart filled with sympathy and dread. What happened to you? But before she could answer, a sinister presence descended upon the room. Shadows twisted and contorted, and a malevolent force seemed to emanate from the very walls. The woman's wails turned into a blood-curdling scream as I watched in horror. I fled from the basement, sprinting through the decrepit house and out into the rain-soaked woods. Behind me, the woman's screams faded into the distance, but the feeling of malevolence pursued me, a relentless presence that refused to be shaken. Hours later, I stumbled upon a main road and was rescued by a passing motorist. I told them about the house and the woman, but when we returned to the spot, there was nothing there but an empty, overgrown field. To this day, I can't explain what happened that night. Was it a ghostly encounter, a figment of my imagination, or something far more sinister lurking in the darkness? I may never know, but I do know one thing. I will never take the back roads on a rainy night again. I hesitated at the edge of the overgrown path, the moonlight barely piercing the thick canopy of trees that loomed over me. The abandoned house, a decrepit structure hidden deep in the woods, beckoned like a haunting spectre. My heart raced as I took my first step forward, drawn by a morbid curiosity I couldn't resist. It had been the talk of our small town for as long as I could remember. They said it was cursed, that anyone who entered never came back the same. But I needed to know the truth. I needed to conquer my fears and prove to myself that there was nothing to be afraid of. The path was choked with weeds and brambles, clawing at my legs as I pressed on. The air grew colder with each step, and the oppressive silence weighed heavily on my chest. The distant hoot of an owl sounded like a mournful cry, warning me to turn back. I reached the clearing where the house stood, and the sight that met my eyes sent a shiver down my spine. The house was a derelict shell, its once grand facade now marred by time and neglect. Broken windows stared like vacant eyes, and the wooden boards creaked in the night breeze. I cautiously pushed the front door open, its rusty hinges groaning in protest. The interior was suffused with an eerie stillness, broken only by the distant howling of the wind. The air was damp and musty, carrying the scent of decay. I stepped inside, my footsteps echoing through the empty rooms. Moonlight filtered through the shattered windows, casting eerie shadows that danced on the peeling wallpaper. The walls seemed to whisper secrets of the past, and the floorboards creaked beneath my feet, as if they too had stories to tell. I explored room by room, my heart pounding with every step. In the kitchen, a table was set for a long-forgotten meal, covered in dust and cobwebs. The chairs were askew, as if the diners had fled in haste. I couldn't shake the feeling that I was not alone. Upstairs, I found the bedrooms. One was filled with faded toys, their eyes hollow and staring. In another, a cracked mirror reflected my fear-stricken face. I couldn't help but see the ghostly apparitions of those who had once lived here, trapped in the glass. As I continued my exploration, I came upon a room at the end of the hall. The door stood slightly ajar, and a faint light emanated from within. My curiosity got the better of me, and I pushed the door open. The room was unlike any other in the house. It was immaculate, untouched by time's decay. A single candle burned on a small, ornate table in the center of the room. Its flickering flame cast eerie shadows on the walls, and a chill ran down my spine. I approached the table, and my eyes were drawn to an old, leather-bound book. It lay open, its pages filled with strange symbols and arcane drawings. I couldn't decipher the text, but the sense of malevolence it exuded was palpable. As I reached out to touch the book, a voice whispered in the darkness.
"You should not be here."
I spun around, my heart in my throat. No one was there, yet the voice had been real, chillingly close. I backed away from the table, my eyes darting around the room. Shadows seemed to move of their own accord, and the temperature dropped even further. I knew I had overstayed my welcome. I turned to leave, but the door slammed shut with a deafening crash, and the candle extinguished, plunging the room into utter darkness. Panic gripped me as I fumbled for my phone, desperate for any source of light. The room seemed to come alive with malevolent energy. Whispers filled the air, and the walls felt like they were closing in on me. I stumbled blindly, my heart racing, and collided with something cold and solid. My hands touched the source of the obstruction, and terror coursed through me. It was a skeletal hand, gripping my arm with a deathly grip. I screamed, struggling to break free, but the unseen force held me fast. The room was now filled with a cacophony of whispers, each one more sinister than the last. I could feel a presence, something ancient and malevolent surrounding me. I knew I was not alone, but I couldn't see what lurked in the darkness. In a final act of desperation, I recited the Lord's Prayer, my voice trembling with fear. As the words left my lips, the grip on my arm relented, and the room fell silent once more. I was alone, but I could sense that whatever had been awakened by my presence had not gone away. I stumbled my way out of the room and down the stairs, the darkness reluctantly giving way to the moonlit night. I burst through the front door, gasping for breath, and fled into the woods, not looking back. The abandoned house had lived up to its sinister reputation, and I had narrowly escaped its clutches. I knew now that some places were best left undisturbed, their secrets hidden in the shadows. But the horrors I had witnessed that night would haunt me forever, a chilling reminder that there are forces beyond our comprehension, lurking in the darkness, waiting to claim those who dare to trespass into the unknown.